recording it. All right. So, what is Peduncle like? How does it look like? What does a person see when they want to do it? So we go onto the main website first, and then it's like the splash page. So just what is this? And it's very simple. It's very simplistic and minimalist. And then you can choose if you're a developer or a scientist or whatever. But we're going to focus on the user. So if you want to play and you want to go shopping, so then you click through to that, and then you get to a website that is a map. So it's this beautiful 3D version of a map with the rolling hills, and it's real world. So it's not a fantasy. And you can walk around and you can investigate things. You can zoom in and zoom out and have fun. But on this map, it's like there's not people or nothing. It's just beautiful visuals. And then you see these little bubbles. So they look like these little cities. If you imagine if you built a city on Mars, there'd be this bubble over the city that protects it, and it has its own atmosphere. And I guess if you come from someone that told you about somewhere to go, then you can go there, or you can just go explore. I'm thinking we'll probably have a curated experience to help people, like a little mini game, to help them get used to the space and guide them through the process. So it's not just like throwing it in the deep end. And so let's say we take you to the first bubble, which is a city. So in these bubbles, it could be your okay, let's start with, okay, so you go to a bubble that's already there, and you go in, and now this links you to an Averte platform, or to a different website. But the important thing is that inside this bubble is whatever you could want, so different bubbles are completely different things. In this one, let's say it is the high street of Cape Town. There's like bustling people, and there's people busking, and there's like beautiful people walking around with like really cool stuff. And then you can interact with them. Some of them are real people. Some of them are avatar, like AI bots that's looking like, and you go, oh, that person has amazing hair. And then you can like brush through the hair, and then there's a little pop-up that goes, oh, you like this hair? This is where you can buy this hair. That's digital or physical or whatever. And there's a little office you can go in, and that's where you go and like learn about something, or engage in any sort of social or commercial activities. Now, at some point, you can create your own bubble. You can join another bubble, you can become a citizen there, whatever, but you can also create your own bubble. So your bubble could be anything. It could be your couch, or just your dressing room, or your house, or a fantasy house, or your garden, or a whole city. The limit at the moment of Averte is 16,000 square kilometers. So you can do something really, really big, with its own geography, and in that bubble you can do whatever you want. It could be commercial, it could be research, it could be anything you want. It could be Mars, it could be under the water. In that bubble is your world, and you can invite other people, or you can have it fully private. You can have it fully public if you want it to be shopping, anything. And then importantly, all that data is yours. That data doesn't go up to a international server or corporate that's going to spy on you and that's going to sell your data to other people. That data is yours. And that's what we mean with decentralization and a federated data storage server. And that's what the solid box does. So you have this pleasant, beautiful experience, but you're also completely private. It's not that we promise we will never use your data. It is that it is not possible for us to abuse your data by design. And that, I think, is what Peduncle is. Does that make sense?
Very nice. Yeah. And how much of it is built already, and how much of it is to be built? No, I'm saying, like, in terms of how much would we build, and how much would other people build? Right. How much is there already? If I just pulled in there when we've done a bit of work, yes, what will that look like? And then how will I build what I want to build?
Okay. So all of the things that we want is there in some form of another. So for the website, we will use the geospatial JavaScript libraries, and that is very far advanced. So there, all of that is built. What we need is a little modification so that we can interact with the landscape, because at the moment all the geospatial stuff is static. And then we need some APIs to get the data in to make the rivers flow in the way that they should. So all of that exists. We're basically styling how to put that into our world, and then styling how to interact with it. And I think for the initial, just to get the website live and get it usable, we probably won't have the interaction. It'll just be static because that's easier. Then when you go into Averte, that all is there. but it's not user friendly yet. So we need a little bit of work there to make it really easy for someone to just click a button, download it, and it's easy to use. So that is a whole project. That's not nothing that we build, but if we contribute to that, it will go back into Averte and be available to everyone. But that project is quite far advanced. That code is based on Second Life. So that's the original Second Life code that's been made open source. So you can imagine everything that was done there has now become open. So it's very far advanced. There's a little bit of tweaks that needs to be done. Then on the data side, those servers, so that's Jonas's passion. That is a whole project. So there's a huge group of people working on that. Jonas is packaging it to have a user-friendly little box that is, that people like me and you can use easily. So at the moment, there's a very big project, but it's all very technical. So there's like little bits and pieces that we just need to connect to each other. But I still think it'll probably take a year or two for the whole thing to work. So at the moment, I just want the beautiful website, and then we can start wandering around and then see how the community takes it. And all of this is open source, which means that if people get excited about it, they can contribute any code in, and split stuff, and so you get that network effect potentially very quickly.
Yes. And would I need a piece of hardware to engage with the system?
Not yet. Well, no. So no, you don't need a piece of hardware, but if you want to start playing with it more, at some point you're going to run out of resources. And then you might have to buy more server space, or I think a good commercial potential is that you can pay someone to keep server space, but that still means your data is yours. You're just paying for the value add of managing that little physical box for you.
In order for the data to be mine, I don't have to have a solid box or whatever it's called.
Yeah. In the beginning, you don't need anything. So then the other thing that we discussed yesterday, so we have the website, which is mobile web friendly, but you still need like a smartphone to transact or whatever. The Averte platform works based on a laptop or a computer, so you have a little bit of extra performance, and eventually that'll be VR compatible, so you can wear a headset. But we're also Jonas's passion is a text-only version, and so that's good for for old school people, or if you have really, really, really low resource capacity, or if you're doing remote sensing, if you're using it for research or work. So we have got so the joke was that we now have Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3, and he said there's a Web 0 as well, but I don't understand what he means with that. So it means that whatever your requirements and your capabilities are, there's going to be something in here that works for you, and that you can interoperate with the higher computing structures as well to a greater or lesser extent. We'll have to see the details.
In the same place, it will be extendable.
Yeah, so the data extends. So I'm not sure how much we'll be able to port. So, like Averte could have everything, but you couldn't port all of that out to the website and to the text only. But so my thought is, so you can have your phone with you with a website, and you can have your little sensor that you're measuring the temperature or whatever it is you want to measure, your water use in your home, and that can get pulled into Averte. And so once a day or once a week or whenever you want to sit down at your computer, or you go to a web cafe or a community center, then all that data can be pulled in, and you can work with it in this beautiful virtual environment. So you don't have to be in the virtual environment the whole time to do everything. You could be on your website, you could be on the phone, that could be in your pocket, and you can just live your life, recording what it is you told it to record, and it's fully private. And then every once in a while you go into this virtual platform and you can do whatever it is you want to do with it.
And why will I go in there? Why will people want to go in there?
So for me, I want to go in there because I want my virtual space I want to relax in. I want a koi pond with beautiful fish that I don't have to feed or clean the tank. I want to test our clothes, so I want this little space that's just for me. That I can play and think about things. In my work, I want to pull in data like what is the wastewater flows of the whole of Cape Town, and go and play with that easily in a data visualization or research perspective. I think for many other people who want to socialize, so all of my friends, and I think you said this as well, you already spend so much time online. And I do want to connect. I do want to play games, but it's like everything is just so hard at the moment. What if it was all just together? And because this is open source, it's like, to me, it's truly the spirit of the metaverse. You can go in there, you can work a little bit, you can have your virtual meeting with someone that you really need to meet face to face and talk and like show the model and go, this is where I want the door, this is where I need that other thing to be. And then, go have a beer with your friend in the virtual pub and like, I don't know, like talk and connect and do all the things that we currently need to do in VR chat, and then in Facebook, and now Facebook's got all that drama, and now this other place, and you're like, there's so many, and you're like, oh, where did I keep this message? Is it in my email? Is it just one place where it all is? And that's what the solid box does.
Yeah.
So it's this little hidden piece of software and hardware, but all your data goes everywhere, and so you don't have to do all this. So on the one side, it's fun, it's entertaining, it's beautiful, it's social, but it's also smart and intelligent and ethical. So
yeah, because that's what my next question was going to be. How we talked about how engage is always synthesized with the physical world and how we live between the two. And is that what you mean by that's how we could live on and offline or whatever it is, almost symbiotically or at the same time?
Yeah, so this was from that email and that beautiful article about hybrid games. So like geocaching games, we can go find a little thing, so you can go on a hike to find someplace or go someplace beautiful, and the little thing is in your pocket, and it's counting your steps, so you've got your pedometer or whatever, and it's not being sold to some company, that data. And then when you come back into your Verta, you can pull that data in, and it shows your route on this mountain, and then your friend could also go, oh, I also did that same route, and you can see that, and you go, oh, did you see this hill was so steep? And it's all visualized in 3D. And so it encourages you to like be more outside because your online time is better, not more, better.
Yes. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm getting the picture now. Like, let's just take the having a drink with your friend. How would that work? Like, would you be there? I'll be here like we are now, actually, having a drink. And then,
I don't know.
And how would we need to have headsets, or like if I had my phone in my pocket, or could we go back and off it, or no, or would it be compatible with a phone? And how would it be different to me having a WhatsApp call with you or having this call with you? How would it be an enhanced version of, or how would it be different to that?
So honestly, I'm not sure about the beer drinking and the headset because there's a problem there. It has to be straw. Yeah. So at the moment when I want to share something with you, I have to go find that tab and then share the screen and then make sure that I'm not sharing anything else. And so the metaverse and Facebook is really doing well with this. They have this workroom thing where you can join it and you have a virtual screen. Okay, but now you're working on a project, or you want to tell me where you went walking the other day. And so you go onto Google Maps. Now this is another application. And now you have to go find where you went walking, and it doesn't have your personal data on it because you don't want to put it there because you don't want people to know where you are or whatever. And now you're like, and you have to see how steep this hill was. And you just cannot find the picture of where the hill was, or this cute little shop, and the people go, oh, what was its name? Now you have to spend time looking for where it is, and so this is like the power of open source is you could load up, you can take a picture of that shop using Mapillary, and there's a couple of other open source apps, and pull it into this because it's all open source. And then you could send this to your friend, and you could sit on a call like this, or in your headset, or on your phone, and say, go have a look, in Peduncle. I left a picture there for you, and it's on the place, and the people did a little video, but it's all integrated, and it's all open source because you can't do that on Google. You can't add you can add stuff, but it's very controlled the way they want it, and Facebook is very controlled the way they want it. So you can't just go and play and add something new if you want to, and that you can do with open source. So I think that's immensely.
And so you'd be able to converse. You'd be able to put pictures in there. You'd be able to do Could you pin something geographically, or I mean, we could. Could I send you like a link that just says that could take you to a place in there that would make sense or be relevant for me?
And you can build a little house there, and then you can, or whatever you want to do at that pin, And then maybe you decide, well, this is something that the whole world could see. Then you can commit that to OpenStreetMaps, which is the open version of Google Street Maps, and you could do any. You could say how 3D that building is. You could put pictures there. The power of socially linked data, which is the Solid Data project, is you can then take that data all the way over to Mastodon, which is the open source version of Twitter. Like, how do you just pull in something from Instagram to Twitter? You can share it, but it's clumsy, and they can at any point decide, oh, we're not friends anymore, we can't do this anymore. But here you can. You can build a whole little house and have a whole experience in there, and you can decide how much that gets shared between your friends or public or whatever. And then let's say you're like, okay, this is great, I want to use it in Peduncle, but I also want to use it in this other game that I'm playing. You can download that entire asset, that entire 3D asset, take it out and go use it somewhere else. There is no ways that any company is doing that at the moment, because that affects their profit. And the app stores don't allow that. But with us, you can, because it's open source. And so that creates a whole network of creators. Really, you can, like, as an architect, you can import a building for your clients to look at and walk through. Other people can see it or not, depending on what you choose, but you can also use that as advertising. You can make some little modular thing available for free. People can download it and then use it in their own little bubble to see if they like it, if they really want to live in it or just live in it in the metaverse. Like, it's all open. You can't do that.
And that architect thing, like in Peduncle, will there be hills and things? I mean, can I now like go and put my house that I built or I've designed, let's say, and I could put it on a hill somewhere, and I could say you could go and walk up this path to my house, blah blah, whatever. Is that right? And I would I be able to change the hill, or would the hill just be there, the undulation be there? And I'll just have to build on top of that hill, or how does that work? Or would I build my own hills?
For me, I really wanted that the hills are there, and that's easy to do. But then also we can like build these fantasy islands, so to sort of mess with what is real and what is fantasy. And so for that, you'll have to bring your own instance. So because if someone else wants the world to be real, then you mess with the world, it's a bit difficult. So you'll have your own instance, which is like a fork or a copy. But you can still do that, and you can still invite people to it. And then in your bubble, you can do that. You can build your own hill. You can use the hill that's in the real world. You can dig a hole. And so in the bubble, that's already possible. But on the website, I'm not sure if that's possible. Well, it seems to be really difficult to do. But in the bubble, you can have the real hills that you have, and you can also make your own hills. You can make your own holes. Like, that is very important for me. That's why I want this project. I want hills.
You want your hills, okay. And okay, that's cool. And then in terms of people, how will I be a people in there? I mean, will I be Robin, or will I be whoever I want to be? And can I be more than one person, or if I wanted to be seen as different, aspects or different ways of being? And will I be a person, or will I like a real life person? And is that functionality available for me to be a real life person, or an avatar, or as you've proposed before, invisible, that I can actually just travel around the world and nobody even knows that I'm there, or that you can't see me? I mean, how will that personality element work?
Yeah. So for me, like we spoke about this before, I hate choosing an avatar because I don't know who I want to be in your world yet. So when you enter the world, so on the website, you'll just be invisible. It'd be like a telescopic view. And then once you go into the bubble, so there could be pins. I haven't figured that out yet. But once you go into your bubble, at the beginning you just get a default avatar. So if you don't want to think about how other people see you, you can do that. And it looks like, at the moment, it looks like a little wooden doll, those posing dolls. And then if you want to choose your avatar, you could be whatever you want. You could be a bull, you could be a dragon, you could be a cat, you could be a human. So you have there's some constraints. If you want your human to walk properly, then you need to design it around that. But here's the clincher: you can also design your own or buy your own asset from somewhere else, and then upload it as your avatar. So you don't have to choose just whatever we have there. You can upload your own one. I think that's
Yes, because there was a program you showed me that had like real life people. I mean, they looked like it was like a movie actually. So can one use that and come in with that, or is that?
I don't know. So
would that be restrictive?
That is Unity's Make Human, or like it's the Unity engine. They're open, but they're not free and open source. But I think if you buy that and you download, like if you by some means own that asset, you can pull it in to your Verte. But that is like, if they don't make their stuff available, then we can't, we don't have it. But all the stuff that we have and that other people make that they want to pull in, you can pull in. But they're not fully open source. And, so I don't know what they.
Not sure the compatibility. You mean?
In theory, it's compatible. The file types are the same. So if they make their stuff available that you can download and upload again, then it's possible. I don't know if you'll have all the facial features. That I don't know enough about. But in theory, it's possible. It might just be limited.
Yes. Okay, that's cool.
That's really important to you. You can help make it possible. You can help develop the code to respond to all those things. But I don't know.
But when I'm a human, I can see my body, but I mean, I'm mainly like just looking at what I'm looking at. So, is that what we would be doing? Like, I'd be going there and I'd just go and see what I'm seeing, and then
my personal preference is to look at it from the top, like Animal Crossing. So you see all the little things at the bottom. I asked the Verte team this, and they said it's possible to change your viewpoints. And so I think, I'm not sure how much it's possible when you just go in as a visitor, but when you make your own one, your own bubble, your own home, you can choose where that, do you see things as a first person. But it sounds like it's not too difficult to do for people to just choose how they want to see. Do you want to see yourself? Do you want to see yourself from up here? Do you just want to, look at the world like you're invisible? All of that is possible. It's just changing the viewpoint.
Okay, got it. And then what would it look like? Like, let's say, because I think what would be really cool is like a Zoom call is quite hard because it's so flat. So when we have family Zoom calls, we're actually given up having family Zoom calls because there's just too many things and people away from what they need. So I thought what would be really cool is if we were actually brought together in like, let's say, a lounge or something, and we had almost simulations of ourselves in that lounge, and so how is that part of the project, or would that be just somebody built something? They could build however they wanted it, or would we have something like that that's already pre-configured for something of that nature, or does somebody come in and provide that service and build that kind of functionality?
So with the functionality, do you mean the lounge itself, or the ability to have plenty of people to sit down somewhere?
So the ability to converse together. And look, we'd have some way of us configuring something that would, we are actually, we can see each other engaging in some way. I don't know.
So at the moment, you would go into a bubble. At the moment with the Verte, this is called rooms. And then in that room, you would tell people, I meet you at the big tree, or I meet you at this GPS coordinates, or I meet you at the big lounge. And they actually have their weekly meetings like this as well. And so you can all go to the lounge, you can sit down, you can see the other people, whether they're sitting or standing. At the moment, the way I've seen it, you don't see very specific facial things. But the really cool thing is that the sound is not flat. So when you're far away from someone, you can hear them mumble, but you can hear the person in front of you really clearly. And to me, like in the beginning of the pandemic, Ute and I were talking about this. What makes a social gathering magic is you can be talking to someone and then you hear like snippets of something interesting over there. And you're like, oh, I want to go look there. And then you like wander over there and you become part of that conversation. And so to me, that's really magic. And Verte has that capability already. So that's already.
Yes. Good. And then how do we handle like society not rules, but what do you call those things? Like, like
code of conduct.
Is it a free for all, or is it that if somebody has a really unpleasant scene, like I watched an operation taking place for my finger, my trigger finger.
Oh yeah.
And I nearly freaked myself out watching this operation of what might need to be done to my finger, and which I might have shared with the family. And I thought, oh, if I felt like that, they probably not going to. So how do you handle things that might not, or also adults, children? How does one manage that in an environment like this?
To be honest, I don't know, and it's a very big conversation that a lot of people have. So my personal opinion, and this is maybe not how it's going to end up with, but for me, it's like when you enter a bubble, and this already happens. Is like when you enter a bubble, they say this bubble is family friendly, and so you need to comply to the code of conduct, or this bubble is an adult site, or this bubble is gory or whatever. But I think at the moment there's still restrictions on like hate speech and stuff like that. So my personal opinion is like throw that even more open. Like just when you enter the bubble, you know what the terms of engagement are. You know what the code of conduct is. And so you can get banned for not complying with that. But I would, if your bubble is like one terrible place, then as long as you say that is what it is, then you go in there, and deal with whatever's in there. Because I feel like we need to have those conversations. We can't just like chase it underground. But this is
like, it come with its warnings. Maybe it needs to have sufficient warnings.
But so I think,
and I don't know how you handle underage people, because how do you get access control? Make sure access control.
Okay, so there's two things here. So I think the default setting should be it's family friendly, and so when you go in there, you acknowledge that you can be banned if you don't comply to this. But then if there's adult stuff, then that's it's a different bubble. So when
maybe you have to qualify for that in some way. The
second thing is, and this is something that Jonas also mentioned, is we're not relying on people to be alone. So like I was writing the other day, like why. It's only young people that game, really. Like I also want to game, but there's nothing out there that I like. But what this also means is that all the elders, the people who mentor other people, are not in those virtual spaces. So for me, the problem is like a step back. Is like, how do you help people like us, like old people, older people, enjoy that space so that we can do that, like. It takes a community to raise a child sort of thing, so that it's not that you're just getting slammed with a ban. It's that you can actually have gentle conversations way before it becomes a problem. And so this is what we mean with a web of trust, and it's the slow growing and sort of re-getting our community back that I think we sort of lost with a bunch of young people just being behind their screens without any mentorship. So that's like that's a different sort of interaction that we're trying to
cultivate or create.
And like because I'm building this for me, like I'm a middle-aged African woman, like that's a niche area, but it's basically I'm saying, how do I also get into this space, because I have a lot to offer, and it's also I have needs that's not met. So that's sort of touching a lot of other stuff.
For sure. I mean, I'm just thinking about reasons why I would go in there, and but I mean, I'm 62, so like.
So why would you go?
The target market's probably like.
No, like it's a huge unserved market. So why would you go? I would
definitely go in there for community and conversations, or to because I mean, the way the world's distributed now, your kids are not where you are, and everybody's working and living where they are, and they are looking into a machine. So how does this bring us together would be one of my first things. That would probably be my primary thing. And then also work-wise is to find a way to be in something together. And then I think I'm kind of a frustrated architect or whatever. I mean, I wouldn't mind just seeing, could we build something in there, and I'd get the kids in, and could they design something? Could we have like a family project in there that we've. And I want to build the resort with the 8 cottage or the family village with the 8 cottages. could we collab on that thing, and we'll get in there and we find our beach, and we'll put our cottages together, and we'll design them together, and actually a real 3D version of what I've been doing on a Google Doc. There might be a reason to be in there.
I was talking to my friends, and they're all slightly older than me, and I was saying, well, what would you like? And they were like, smarter games, games that are not stupid, puzzles and Scrabble and stuff that's smarter. And if we could do that in a
interactive,
just smarter. That doesn't involve you shooting people or like stacking strawberries.
No, you're right.
I'm stacking strawberries. So, no,
you're right, actually, because what we could do also from a family perspective or a friends and family perspective, there's probably a lot of lonely people out there now, like with remote working. I mean, it's causing some real issues for people, so how can one, as you say, we could play Scrabble together. So I could see you, we could play Scrabble, or we could do whatever it might be that's socially interactive, that's enjoyable, exciting, conversing. So there could be those.
And again, it's like this. So because it's a common thing, so it's not that you go to a website with your family and they go there at the same time and you fill in a code and then you both play Scrabble. You're in this common thing, and so someone, when they walk by, can hear snippets of your conversation, unless you set it that you're private. And you're like, oh, hey, Stephanie, I haven't seen you in ages, and you have those casual micro interactions that I think really is the thing that took me with the pandemic. And I mean, like for me, again, I'm developing this for me. Like I'm out here on a farm and I love it. I love being in nature. But it does mean that I don't get to see people, and like, how do you get the best of both worlds for that? So
I also wonder, like, I go and sit on the beach and meditate in the mornings, and I just, it was such a beautiful view, and I'm looking at the birds, and then I go for a walk along the beach, and I just wonder if as we said, if there's a way to bring that physical and virtual reality together. And I could take my phone, I try and leave my phone behind because I think, well, that's my time out or whatever. But how could I bring those two things together? So that actually my walk along the beach was, it became part of a world, or became part of my life, other people's lives. Or maybe there's some measurement involved, or maybe, I don't know what it could be that ties these two worlds together that makes it really enjoyable to hybridize it.
So I want like a little Fitbit, but that doesn't lock you into a platform. So if I want to go and hack it and put my own stuff on there, I can, and so that a solid box is just a little thing. And so you can choose whether it's a bracelet or a watch or a box or whatever. And then it must track my steps because I'm trying to lose weight, but I don't want to take my phone because it's my downtime. So I can take my phone and I can count my steps, but then someone can also call me. And then, so it tracks all those things. And, if you want to have a camera on it, like whatever it is you want on this little thing, you can configure it. We can configure it. We can make a plan. But it's private. Your data doesn't get shared with anyone. And it's open. So it's not linked to whatever platform you may or may not like. But you can still take it across to whatever platform you like. You could still upload it as a CSV file to your Apple or to your whatever it is you want to use. So that's the interoperability thing. But I want this tiny little thing that can just sit in my pocket and count my steps and count my calories and count whatever it is I wanted to count. And when I come home, I plug it in, and there's the whole beautiful route on my Averte platform or on the website. Easy. And I can share it with friends. I can use it to track my fitness.
Okay, well, that brings me to two more questions. So what processing power would be required to engage with the system? And do I need to have something really super potent, or could I use, is it compatible with a Mac, with a phone, with how does that part work?
So the Solid is compatible with everything, and it's very low performance because it's text only. The next one, the web interface, is a web interface, so it can run on any browser. So that already can go anywhere. Averte, so those two, so the text needs the lowest computing power, like an old cell phone without any smart capability can use that. The website obviously needs a smartphone. It needs something that can run a website, right? Averte needs a little bit more oomph because you also get a lot more visual power. And so for that, you would need a laptop. Like it runs fine on my laptop, and I don't have a big laptop.
Wow.
In
Yeah.
terms of, yeah, Jonas was super impressed. He was like, "No, it can't run yet. It must be running in the cloud." I'm like, "No, look," and I did it again, and he's like, "Oh, wow." So
Yeah.
a lot of these guys are very, very they value efficiency very much. And so I think that'll always be a critical component. I love visuals, and so we need to find, and that's why the sort of the product split into the web and the platform and the text, because it doesn't matter what your capabilities are, you can find something that works for you. Obviously, the more visual beauty you want, the more rendering power that needs. And so it depends on you, what you, so you can, this is available to you, whatever, but the more oomph you want, the more oomph you have to give. And then in terms of platforms, so this projects may be unusual, and then it's Debian first, so it's Linux first. So my computer runs Ubuntu, but it is very easy to package that for Windows and for Apple as well. So it would run on the major platforms, but it's Debian first, and that's just because that's what we love the most. Like I run
So
a
if
Linux,
I had a
can't play, and that irritates.
okay, but if I had an Android phone,
Yes.
it would work fine for me. And is
Yeah.
it
I
not
don't think
like
there's an app for it yet,
when I
but
watch a YouTube video, I watch it on 100 or I watch it on 1,000, whatever those things
so
are.
that's your internet capability. So okay, so that's the other thing.
Yeah,
So
is
you need
that
power
is
for it
that
to run.
how it would be, or would we
Yes.
get like when I lost you a few minutes ago? Is it going to
Yeah.
lose the picture a bit, or
So
is it
there's
going to render it
processing
all
power.
to my phone and then I'll just be able to
Yes.
watch it?
So now you're getting into like the core stuff of the metaverse. So the metaverse is about all this computing power and infrastructure and internet to make this, persistent thing work. And so so that's a big story. But so there's two things here. The one is the processing power of your machine. So those are the things that you don't need internet for. Like sometimes your computer is just not going to be strong enough to run this super oomph thing. So that's the stuff that I was talking about with, doesn't matter how big or small your computer is. In terms of the internet, that comes in when you want to socialize with other people that are not in your world. So if you want to just to be offline, you can do this whole thing offline, just with collecting your data on your little solid box, your little Fitbit watch or your little necklace that collects the stuff. Plug it into your computer with a cable or a Bluetooth. And so the internet doesn't touch any of that. And you can have this super high resolution, beautiful thing. It just means it's going to download a little bit more in the beginning, or you get it from a CD or however you want to do this. And then it runs. But if you want it to be online, so you and someone else wants to build a house together, and it needs to, is it the persistence or I can't remember what, real-time rendering. You want it to real-time render. You're going to need internet to do that. Like that's not something that we can fix. We can make it more efficient with low poly stuff. But again, the more high resolution, the more realistic, the more beautiful you want this, the faster your internet's going to be. And so that's why, just for the record, I prefer low poly. It's beautiful, but it's light. It's not blocky. It's still beautiful, but it's not photorealistic.
Yes.
I can't see how that internet.
But I didn't understand that low poly thing when you first mentioned it. So that's like it's like these rolling hills and things, but they're not. There's no fine.
Yeah, so you don't have
detail.
grass bushes. Yeah, so it's like the low poly comes from when you have let's say you have a tennis ball. If it's a really low poly thing, you're going to see the tennis balls made up of like blocks, right? If you need to fold something, it's going to have a lot of folds. Yeah, it's not going to look like a nice round ball. The higher poly, so poly is for polygon. It's the little squares or triangles that you make the ball from. So the higher poly it goes, the smoother it looks. And you have to really zoom in before you see the little polygons. So low polygons, the low polygon count. So it's not low poly. Well, I guess Minecraft is really low poly because everything is just 4. It's like, everything is a cube. So that's really, really low poly. That's too low poly for me. I think it's like, so this low poly is a little bit.
Okay, and lots of people use that and are comfortable with that.
So it's a visual style.
Yeah.
So the website is low poly, but it's also, and this I don't understand properly yet. So with geospatial, you get rasters and you get tiles. And so that also affects your resolution and how you choose to make the different decisions. But so the website will be stylized. And unless you fork it to make your own visual style, it'd be quite simple. And then Averta, you can choose, because that's something that you download onto your machine. You can choose what that looks like. So, if you want it very low poly, if you want it photorealistic, but you just need to understand the requirements that's going to come with that. So that's just.
And how do you create? Because I kind of had this 3D effect in mind. Like, is it really a 3D? How does one create a 3D effect without actually having glasses on, or isn't it 3D? What is this effect that we're creating, and how does it become? How does this engagement, and I don't know, you know what I mean? Kind of how 3D is it? How realistic? How
Yeah, so again, you can choose. So for me, some of the stuff will be 2.5D. So it looks 3D, but it's actually layers on top of each other. So you have a 2D and another 2D and another 2D. So you do have depth to work with, but it's not any way you choose. It's not full 3D. So they call it 2.5D. But Averta is fully 3D in that you can walk around like a video game, like Minecraft. It doesn't look 3D, but you can. If you think about the 3 axes, you can walk forward, sideways, up,
behind
down,
the tree or whatever it is. And
the full 3D with the headsets is they change the image slightly. So if you look at the people who coded, it's actually 2 images that's just shifted a little bit. And so each of the glasses that you see, the lenses that you see through your headset, projects the image slightly different, and that makes your brain think it's fully 3D. Just as a technical little,
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So it's not really, it just like tricks your brain into seeing it like that.
The full 3D thing is on your computing. If you're allowing your characters to walk all the way forward, all the way backwards, and not just here or like in the front or in the middle or in the back, or so full 3D is you can go anywhere you want on the X-axis, on the Y-axis, and on the Z-axis.
I got it. And then did you envisage people buying stuff that would make it more interactive and whatever? Is there anything, would there be add-ons that people would buy? Or like if I wanted to measure myself walking along the beach, would my phone just do the trick, or would there be, would this world have things that make it more fun and exciting, or
okay, so on the when you
software or hardware or whatever,
when you first started talking, when you first started talking, I thought you meant the land sales like in Decentraland. I'm not keen on that because it excludes people who don't have money. And I think this is also a good place to introduce the open version and the commercial version. So the open version, you can do whatever it is you want, whatever it is you want. Of course, sometimes you need to learn how to do it first, and so it's going to take time, and maybe you're not good at it. So there are value adds like the servers. Maybe you don't want to manage your own servers, then you can pay someone else to manage that for you, or you can. You're going to have to buy a little server, but maybe it's a small server, not a big server. Let's say you love beautiful buildings, but you just you struggle to build it. You can buy assets from someone and then import it. So that's a value add service. So for me, in my open source thing, everything is open, and then the value adds is what you don't want to spend the time on. So it's possible to do everything yourself, but you can also pay other people. With a commercial layer that you're interested in, there may be other add-ons. You may decide to do land sales, but then at that point it'll be a fork, a copy of the thing that you then develop for a more commercial focus, which I think is going to be inevitable because people being people. But I don't want to go to that point.
But could I have my own bubble, and I could sell my land in my bubble?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
But I didn't mean that actually. But I meant more like, would there be, like you mentioned, a necklace? I think like I wore a location device on me or something like that, and so then it could track wherever I went.
Yeah.
And upload it into my universe.
So I imagine there would be something
Robin
like
went over.
Yeah. So for that little thing, I imagine a little wiki how to do it, and then it's like, oh, you need to buy this thing, and then you need to put in that code, and then this other thing doesn't work, so you need to like do this other thing, and it's like it's involved, like it is hardcore. Or you can buy a tier and we'll do it for you. That's sort of how I see that. So that's a legitimate service. It's still open source. It's still free and open source. You're just paying someone to go through all that drama for you.
Okay, I'm with
But then
you.
in your bubble, you can do whatever you want. If you want to put crypto in there, you can do that. If you want to do land sales in there, you can do that. Yeah.
I got it. Okay, and my last question is like, we originally started designing this for Africans, for people in Africa. And people in Africa are from various backgrounds and live in various neighborhoods. What is your, and it's not necessarily Africa, because now this whole thing can be used for anybody, anywhere in the world, non-jurisdictional. What did you call it? It's
digital nation.
Yeah, digital nation. So like a borderless kind of thing. Yeah. So what kind of aspirations did you have for how it may serve a market like Africa, or emerging markets where people, have different dynamics, and they may be engaging on a low poly thingy, and they might live in a village with no resources and infrastructure. And so what's your vision? And you've only got 5 minutes for this at the most now.
Okay, quick. So honestly, I don't know.
What is your vision? What was your vision, or what do you think it could be really cool for? Because I mean, being a bioengineer or something?
Yeah, I forgot.
Bioprocessing.
So to me,
what's your wish and aspiration?
I'm coming from the point of view that African people are the same as every other people, right? So they probably want the same connection and stuff that we do. So, and if we just did something for Africa, then there'll be only Africans in it, and I won't be able to meet amazing people who are in Denmark and Portugal. So that's why it's a global thing. Specifically why when we started talking about this, I wanted something where people could network and learn and get training specifically for biotech, where you need very specific, there's like so much institutional knowledge that you need that you can't transfer on a Zoom call. And so for me in the metaverse, you can stand next to each other and show them how a Puppet works, and show them how, like, really learn with someone next to you, whether that's a real person or a bot. And so when that African person does whatever it is they want to do, when they get back into the real world, they hit the ground running. And it's not that they learned this from a book, they learned this from a real person or a real, like all those tiny little things that you need in the metaverse. And you don't have to apply for visas, you don't have to fly all over the world, you can get it virtually. So that is why we started this, actually. But then it also
would it be like an educational thing, or what is that you?
Yeah, but it can't just be education. So I'm very reluctant to say, oh, it's for education, or it's for this, or it's for that, because then it gets good, and then it gets serious, and then it gets boring, and it gets ugly, right?
Yeah.
I want it to be beautiful and fun, so that's why I'm focusing on the entertainment. But the potential for this, for education and training and mentorship, is immense. So yes, it's very much for that as well. Yeah.
Good.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was awesome. Eh? What a cool blooming chat that was. I understand it a lot better now.
Awesome.
I'm going to switch off the recording now.
Cool. Yeah, switch it off.